Man, who doesn't enjoy those old school gaming console startup screens? Hey guys, and welcome to another brand new video. In this video, we'll be exploring the dramatic history of the start of the PlayStation 1 console, which funny enough was accidentally made a viral success and partially also made by Nintendo by accident. If you guys enjoy this style of video, please make sure to leave a like and subscribe, and as well throughout the entire video, please leave your thoughts and comments down below. The story of the PlayStation begins with Ken Kutaragi, who was a Sony executive and part of the hardware engineering division. He was classically nicknamed the father of PlayStation, and this is why. The very first instance of his Nintendo connection came surprisingly from his daughter, who used to love playing games on the Nintendo Famicom. Kutaragi convinced Nintendo to use his SPC 700 sound processor in the Super Nintendo Entertainment System after showing the processor's capabilities. This, and his drive to go work at Nintendo, sparked the concept of the original PlayStation 1. Although, this isn't all just wholesome stories in regards to Kutaragi and his daughter. The very first instance of the big betrayal on how Nintendo essentially helped make the PlayStation itself almost actually led to Kutaragi being fired from Sony due to him working with Nintendo without proper company approval. Although thankfully, current president Norio Oga recognized his potential and wanted to keep him on board. The second bad instance of their business partnership is a little bit more of a doozy. But first, you need to know how the console was made to get the full picture. The PlayStation was originally made in 1988 as an official joint venture between Nintendo and Sony. Nintendo had working floppy disk technology of, who honestly remembers those back in the day, to help complement their current family computer disk system. And since it was working, they obviously want to keep on producing it. Since Sony was already in contract making the SPC 700 processors, Nintendo reached out to Sony to keep working with them, and to make the new console with the CD-ROM add-on named the PlayStation. With the video game growing rapidly, Sony took note. Since Sony has worked with other companies as well, such as the MSX home computer system, Sony wanted to use its experience to produce its own video game hardware. And this is where things started getting a little bit sour, especially with Nintendo and Sony with their business connection. Since Sony wanted to dive into the video game industry, they were able to go and start working on a Super Nintendo, also nicknamed as PlayStation. Although initially, Nintendo only wanted the expansion of their own console. And while Sony was trying their best, be a nice, hopeful business partner, they were also trying their best to go and push the best of both worlds. A console was basically being made to utilize both the Nintendo-based game systems as well as the brand new CD gaming storage. And this basically led to a really big whoa moment when it comes over from Nintendo. Well, this is kind of a big issue because this agreement was giving Sony a huge overall market initially. This as well a slightly better product than Nintendo's Super Nintendo Entertainment System, which obviously gave out red flags. Sony had international rights to every single Super Disc title sold, and was also the sole benefactor of licensing with both music and film. And as you guys probably know by now, is even a multi-billion-dollar part of Sony itself, or at least if you guys have seen the good old Uncharted movie and as well as Spider-Man as of recently. You guys can probably make sure that's probably a big reason why a lot of companies don't want to give out licensing rights as easy as Nintendo accidentally did with Sony. So this basically led to a huge panic in regards to Nintendo. The PlayStation was originally supposed to be announced in 1991 at CES, which is just a really big entertainment, basically a technology expo that even actually is still going on as of today. But Nintendo's president at the time, Hiroshi Yamauchi, was scared of Sony's increased leverage in this deal, and then essentially canceled the multi-year contract. Then, right after, took the third major big betrayal between Nintendo and Sony, and which just basically was them canceling their working contract with Sony. And this is basically Nintendo also once again sneaking behind their back, organizing special meetings with Philips, which you guys may actually know is a really big brand name even still to this day. And at that point, as I'm sure you guys can imagine, is one of the biggest slap in the faces you could probably go and get. And has also led to a really big hate wave when it comes to Nintendo. Both when it comes to just normal individual folks, but as well more so on the official business side. And this is also only after the fact that Sony learned about this contract dispute that they were not a part of only literally 2 days before the CES major event was about to go and announce and talk about this product. But even after the PlayStation was announced, Nintendo went on to announce their departure from the PlayStation and how they were officially now working with Philips on the stage itself. One of the biggest updates and biggest basically slap in the faces we've ever seen in the gaming world. But thankfully, Nintendo did not get off scot-free. Now, as you guys know, right now, we are actually on the 5th iteration of the PlayStation console, with many huge successes with the PlayStation 1, 2, 3, and 4, as well as other various handheld markets that, while they may be more on the various ranges of also success, did very well in regards to the PSP, PS Vita, and other various sources, and let alone now all the huge mega media conglomerate in regards to televisions, in regards to cameras, in regards to movies, and also obviously the gaming console, which Nintendo did, thankfully, made actually go and happen. So while that's always kind of going really good for Sony and them basically making a lot of money in regards to their products, Nintendo basically had a little bit of a setback. So basically, as Nintendo's words, as they went and said themselves, stung. It was a huge spark, though, to the PlayStation development. Kutaragi decided that Sony themselves would actually go and continue developing the PlayStation console even after Nintendo's major betrayal. This also had a lot of hype behind it too as well, due to the nature of this heartbreak. In Japanese culture, there's been a very big saying that they always want to be working together. It's a very close-knit island that a lot of also even the government has really big says in. To the point where even right now, Sony themselves have a very close working relationship with even semiconductor factories to basically make sure that their own homegrown Japanese economy will always stay stable and do very well. And that's the point where the government and all these very big businesses basically knew each other just from the very start. Everyone knew Sony, everyone knew Nintendo. So this is basically, once again, for my really bad metaphors, basically finding out one of your really good guy friends cheated on their, well, girlfriends. And at that point, you most of the time usually realize that that guy is not good and you basically want to go and support up the girl itself. And that's what a lot of big businesses did. So while there was still a little bit of talks going on too when it comes to Nintendo and Sony to see what could potentially go and happen with them, after all this heartbreak, after this really big CES event, and all these really just kind of bad, just back and forth business meetings that just weren't going anywhere because they both had too much leverage and too much to lose in terms of the system, it eventually had really bad news. And this actually ended up having Sony officially cutting all ties with Nintendo in regards to the PlayStation 1 console on May 4th, 1992. And although, once again, Sony was very adamant on making their console success, many previous consoles, such as the Atari, had loads of failures due to lack of support from third-party developers, and that basically kind of comes down to just a lot of game companies, and a lot of games in general, did not want to go and buy and make and spend and invest all these man hours and production and coding hours into maybe an unproven product where they may not make their money back. Because obviously back in the day when gaming was a little bit more on the lower side, many different types of games obviously could have been good, could have been bad. You never know. It's hard to go find reviews or find different types of YouTube videos or Twitch streams to go and see what was a good game. You never know if it was buggy or broken. But that's almost kind of a thing that kind of worked in people's favor if they had a very good, strong console market and very good success. And that was one really big thing that Sony themselves tried their best to go and focus on. Sony figured this out, and they basically realized that they had to go and utilize and have the support from many different types of third-party developers in really big names to make their console a success. To the point where Sony themselves went door to door in Japan requesting support. And this is from many very big game companies that you guys still would hear of as of even today. Namco, Konami, Williams Entertainment, and all these other various big name companies that are still around today found and supported Sony. They locked in development contracts with Sony, and especially for the PlayStation. So it essentially meant and guaranteed that this console would not be launching without games. And that was a really big issue back in the day. Now, nowadays, there's always those console acquisitions, and also basically people always trying their best to go and fight against each other when it comes to stock. But as of right now, when it's like the 1980s, 1990s, when gaming was just slowly being developed, this was a big issue because there were sometimes consoles being launched with 3 games and then there is nothing for another year. So you're paying a very exorbitant price point just to play 3 different various games, when in theory you can maybe go to an arcade or check out other various things and have more bang for your buck. But that was why Sony itself actually worked. based off the big drama based with Nintendo, they had a lot more support in the gaming universe, but as well, Sony was also a very big company at the time. Some of these also games though too as well were pretty good, you know, back in the day, if you guys ever played on your PlayStation 1 and other various games. And one of the biggest things too is, while you can maybe have third-party games, at some point you do have to go and have your own first party. And Sony actually had a huge major acquisition that basically went and kind of springboarded up to a very successful console that we know as of today, where they even went and spent over $48 million on Psygnosis to go have their very own first party major acquisition. And at that time, Sony was able to go and then purchase an entire full team with over 500 full-time workers, purely just to go and start working really hardcore into the PlayStation 5 console. So with all this put together too, we all know the end result. With this, Sony officially released the PlayStation on December 3rd, 1994. And this was a huge, massive success. With all the stuff we mentioned before, with the drama, with the news with Nintendo, with them actually having third-party support with other huge game developers, and as well with Sony itself being a very huge mega corporation at that point, it was a huge success. With huge queues, lines all throughout the stores, and there's over 100,000 units sold day one. And this is only for the PlayStation 1 console, where it does not have the notoriety that it has even to this day. And with all of that, with over 100,000 units sold in one day, the hype was there. There was over 2 million units sold within the first 6 months. And although other game companies such as Sega and Nintendo were still just a huge focus in the gaming industry and had a lot of very first movers advantage, the PlayStation itself was there to compete day one. It was pretty much an instant day one success, and then later on, as it was launching throughout both the American and European markets, it was finding huge success by working with large retailers that we even know as of today, such as the Walmarts and Targets and Best Buys out there, and also the equivalents too for whoever's maybe around there, you know, the good old Kmarts and such, and also with them driving huge marketing campaigns and spending millions of dollars to make sure you guys knew where to go and buy and play your game consoles on. It was basically developing its own brand new unique market share. And with all of that, that's essentially just the big story of how Nintendo accidentally went and made the PlayStation console. And even though we had all this gaming drama back in the day with CES and all this internal drama and all these complications, thankfully now to this day we now have 3 major mega corporations that are also all working out there trying their best to make as many games for all of us out there. Now once again though, it does kind of make me be a little bit more on the curious side of how the world may have turned out if Nintendo itself kind of kept the PlayStation, and well, would the gaming world still turn out the way you guys think it would be as it is right now? Give me your thoughts and comments down below, and as well, give me all your thoughts and comments on everything that happened throughout this story, and let me know if you guys also enjoyed this format for videos, if you guys have any feedback or comments on it, as this is my very first one I've ever done, or other topics you guys would like to go and be a little bit more of a deep dive into, feel free to leave your comments down below. And as well, if you guys do have your Nintendo consoles, make sure you guys go and say thank you for us now to have our lovely PlayStation 5s. Thank you guys all so much for watching. If you guys made it through all the way, please leave a like and subscribe if you guys enjoyed. And as usual, I hope you guys all enjoy, and I'll see you guys later on throughout today for a bunch more random videos. And I appreciate you all so much for being here.